Alright everybody, welcome to the second iteration of Journaling January. This one is a real Journaling January episode, in that I will be talking about some things. And the theme for this week is bad stuff. Now, this is actually a, how do I put this? This is a warm-up, a show starter, if you will, for the video after this, which is going to be the top 10 bad locations in From Software games. So let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about, and these things are going to be a little bit more deep than the last Journaling January's themes, in that there's going to be some more contentious topic. But I've decided to start with a softball, in that I've started to realize that I'm not someone who really uses social media. A lot of people will go like, I just spent my entire day not doing anything and just doom scrolling, or oh my god, did you see what happened on X social media or Y social media? And I'm behind all the time. And it's not because I don't put in the effort, or like I don't try to, like I don't care about it. I care about the news and things that are happening. It's just that I'm not really someone who uses social media. This has been true as early as I was a child, whenever there wasn't even things like Twitter or Tumblr or anything like that, whenever I was still on Facebook, of all places. But I didn't use Facebook in the way that you would use it as like a social media platform. I just played the games on it. Like, I remember so many games were on Facebook games. I don't know if this is still true. I don't know if these still exist. But I would see them on like Adult Swim, and I'll be like, I want to play those games. And probably wasn't good for me, but I have fond memories of games like Hemp Tycoon. You know, those were like really well constructed games for Flash games. And now, you know, they're all gone because Flash is out the window in terms of all of the web browsers. But it was just the seed for me not using social media. And then whenever I immediately fast-tracked to like college, my early years as a young adult, I was not a social media user then either. I didn't go on the internet at all to read like what new trends were occurring. I only used YouTube, but like I wasn't using it really. Okay, well, to be fair, I was more of someone who enjoyed watching drama as a young adult and like an adolescent, but I was never on the ball with it because, again, I didn't use social media. I don't consider YouTube really to be social media so much as a video viewing platform, because if it were social media, they would care about things like community posts and put them more ahead, and not just try to always front load these shorts and try to be like TikTok. But yeah, that's like the only social media in quotes that I would use. I wouldn't use like Twitter or Instagram or anything like that. So, as the saying would go, I would pretty much get all of my drama news that I would absorb like a sponge. I would get that like 2 weeks later or something, because obviously not all of the YouTubers were on time with this. And also, that was like during the time of really mega drama tube, everything gate, all that stuff that I really wasn't a part of. Like, I was just wondering why they were yelling at like Anita Sarkeesian. I didn't understand it. And then if we go even further into my young adult years, I just still wasn't using, like, in university I wasn't using social media. I wasn't using it at all. I didn't use it. I just watched like gameplay videos. Mostly. Yeah, that's pretty much all I did. And I would say now I'm still not really that good at using it. Like, you know, I just can't see myself using it for more than like 5 minutes. I don't know how people manage to spend several hours of their day on there, but like, I can only handle it, I swear, for like 5 minutes, and it's even worse. Honestly, I might have cursed things like Twitter and Facebook, because as soon as I started using them, they became corrupted? I don't know, I might be the black sheep, but I didn't mean it. I didn't know that this was happening. I literally didn't know anything. I learned about like Elon Musk buying Twitter like much later. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was happening. But I was probably the black sheep. But I will say, okay, I did know that he was buying it. It's just whenever I say happening later, I mean like 2 weeks later. Time on the internet is like stupid fast. It's like playing in Part 6 JoJo Poochie's world where everything is moving way too fast online. I'm not a social media guy. Just not a social media guy at all, really. I post my streams on there. I post the same post on Twitter over and over again, hoping for the game that I want to come out. That's it. I don't cause drama or anything. Like I like to watch the drama. It's like when you watch two guys and you're like, time to pull out the popcorn. But now I'm not even like that anymore. I've stopped watching drama channels. I'm not interested in drama channels very much anymore. It just doesn't hit as hard as it used to as a kid, you know? Just doesn't hit as hard. But now I want to talk about the next topic of this video. And that was my experience in university. Now, I might have talked about this before. I would say socially, my university experience was not very good. And there was also something else that happened, very importantly, that I'll get to. But first I would like to start about how our apartment was really bad. So it was me and my brother who went to university at the same time, kind of. And our first apartment was really bad. There was like this rot on the ground that was there before we came in, and it got worse, and they eventually had to replace all the flooring in the entire apartment. And they did that. I don't know how they did it so quickly, but they did. So I guess it got better, but like it was really bad. That was immediately the first bad thing about it. And the second, maybe that was actually the second apartment. No, I feel like that was the first one. Either way, that doesn't matter. With the first one, it's still really bad, even if that was the second apartment, because the first one was really bad because across the street from our apartment was one of those college houses, like either a fraternity or sorority. I don't recall which one it was. And they were very loud. I remember one night, on the night of like a football game, you could hear the chant of like Buck and then the other team, and they were saying it over and over again for a solid like 3 minutes, and it was really something. Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was also not really that close to university, but we didn't have to take like a car. It was probably the furthest away. But I think the worst part, and this goes for like all the apartments, was that when you walk in the street of a large city, I don't know if this is just me, but every single time I would walk through the city and walk back, the stench of the city would like stick to you. It was like very disgusting in the city. I eventually got used to it. I just took like I had to take showers at nighttime because it was really, really dirty, really stinky. And it was all because of the trash and stuff, you know, just garbage in the city. But yeah, we had like 2 apartments. I didn't even talk about this. I forgot about this. On the second apartment, I'm gonna elaborate more on this, but we did get scammed kind of with the second apartment. I would like to move on to the next part in that at university I had like really bad counselors. I don't know why, but they were labeled as like some of the best counselors, even though one of them wanted me to underage drink, and the other one like didn't do anything or inform me about my entire educational pathway that I could take. I didn't even realize that there were like these educational pathways that I was supposed to be taking. They kind of just, I don't know what it was. I think either I missed something or they just missed something, but I completely missed out on it. But I ended up graduating anyway. I also didn't get honors, even though I had a GPA that was really high. And I feel like that's partially the counselor's fault. I feel like it is. But yeah, they seemed like really bad counselors. But yet they were given like awards for like best counselors in the entirety of my state. My state is Texas, by the way. It was just really bad taste. They also drew me astray. It made me waste my money technically because I took a class that didn't do anything, and a movie class which also didn't do anything. Like neither of those were related to what I wanted to do in my life. So they were really bad, I feel like, generally. Now there were some failings on my part. I didn't join any clubs, and I didn't have any social gatherings. I didn't have any friends, and I still don't have any friends. But I feel like the third part of this is the real reason why. Now, halfway through my education in college, a little year called 2020 came. And you all know what happened in 2020. That was the year when everything went to shit. Everything became, like, online, obviously. And you would think, okay, I'll get to that later, but everything became online. There was this thing where you didn't actually have to pay for your apartment. We had to pay for it anyway, which is why I said we got scammed by the second apartment of the same company, because we should have not paid for an apartment. We were literally not using it. We went back home, me and my brother. It was a really bad time. I think I also got COVID in 2019. I think I got it in 2019. That's how bad it was. And also, obviously, it was a really bad time in general for people. COVID was really bad. Generally, just a really bad time. Everyone losing their jobs and all that stuff. This was part of the reason why I didn't join any clubs. I didn't really do any internships because of the depression that I was feeling because of the COVID stuff. And I was just like, I gotta get out of this school. There were some relief somehow that COVID gave me, in that I had this really, really bad imposter syndrome that was made even worse somehow by me wandering the walkways of the university I went to. In that every single time I looked at a person, it seemed like they would frown back at me. It felt really, really bad, and it really accelerated my imposter syndrome. So whenever I didn't have to do that anymore, it felt better. And then there was the fact that we didn't have to pay for apartment anymore. That was horrible. Apartments were horribly expensive. They just kept getting more and more expensive. So all in all, of all the things that happened in university, I think that COVID was the least bad. It did produce, however, some bad classes. One thing I'll say that is that I really enjoyed most of my professors. There were a few of them that were really, really bad and worthlessly bad, especially under COVID, and some that were and like a lot that were just really good professors. It was entirely because they didn't know how to transfer to COVID, some of them, but some of them were just bad because they were not really professors. They were assistant professors who were given the burden, the task to teach a real course. But now, I feel like I've talked enough about university. It was honestly just like a terrible time for me, especially with all the imposter syndrome stuff, as I said. But now, I want to talk about the deepest topic of this one, and that would be the way that cops are, my experience with them. And not necessarily mine, but also some of my family. I'm not talking extended family, I'm talking direct family. I think I want to start this with how I feel right now, though, because there's something I feel right now. And I felt it for a while now, and that's that if there's like a police car driving around, I don't feel safe. I haven't been feeling safe recently. And whenever I was a kid, my mom would always tell me and my brother not to hurt each other because then someone could report us to the police. That made me feel even less safe. I don't know why she would tell us that, but she did. Even less safe about the cops. I don't know. I don't really like the cops too much in this country. And you'll see why even more when we get to the last part of this part. But first, I want to talk about one of the experiences I had as a child. As a child, whenever we would get a ticket, it was really freaky and terrifying. And it made us me always want to control and backseat my parents driving. And more importantly, one of them, now this made little kid me very, very angry, but me right now, I wouldn't be too upset if they said this, but they kept referring to me as a girl, even though I was a boy. He would keep going like, her, it's because of her, it's because of her. And that really annoyed me as a kid. And I can't believe that this cop would do that, like, over and over again. And that probably, like, I don't know, maybe that was like the first tipping point immediately with me not liking cops. If that didn't do it, the second point that I'm about to talk about, I guess third technically, but it's the second experience. It's not my own. I don't remember what year this was, but I think it was in the 2010s that my sister has like a lot of bad things, but my sister, this specific one was Bupkin. They got pulled over I can't remember for what reason, but it was something very mundane. And then the cop had their dog or whatever, like whatever unit they had, sniff the back, and they tried to accuse her of having drugs. This was during the time when there was a craze with like making slime, so it was just one of my niece's slime creations. And I can't remember, I don't know exactly what happened with that, but if that's just another moment where there's some discrimination, I feel like. If you don't know, I'm half Filipino. And my sister is pure Filipino. My mom is Filipino. My other sister is Filipino. So there's definitely a feeling that like there was some kind of discrimination there. But then I'd like to recount as the last thing for this topic that I said earlier that I live in Texas, and one of the recent events that made me like cops the least, it keeps just getting worse, it feels like it keeps going down and down, was with Uvalde, where they completely failed, and it's like every school shooting, they've completely failed to actually protect the lives of innocent people. It feels pretty consistent that they've done that. I don't know why they're like this. Anyway, I'm getting too far. I think I'm going too far, too deep. So, as a palate cleanser, the final part of this, I'm gonna have Pokemon Corner. We're gonna have Pokemon Corner. Pokemon Corner is here. It's gonna be, we're gonna talk about something that's bad with Pokemon. And I gotta go. I know last week I literally did this. All people ever do is complain about Pokemon. But I want to talk about how bad Pokemon Sword and Shield were. Now, you can say whatever you want about the DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield. You can say how it was a good deal, how it was better than them making another game, how it's actually cheaper than them making it. Actually, no, it wasn't cheaper. It was actually the same price, but I guess simpler than making another game. But Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think, are the worst Pokemon game. I unironically believe this. And I wanted to start with the only personal opinion that I have about the game. This one's personal. I'll be honest. This one, people will say that no, there was this and that. But I didn't like the Sword and Shield music. This is rare. I generally love Pokemon music across the games. There's usually at least one track that is just the best music in the video game genre, you know, as soon as they release it. But Pokemon Sword and Shield? I can't think of one that I like. I can't remember any of it. None of it was memorable to me. It was just a blur. Just like, this was my worst purchase yet for a game. Also, one of the reasons why, it's probably one of the reasons. This is like a first impression thing that I do not like the Switch very much and do not care for it. In fact, I didn't even notice that the Switch 2 is coming out, and I don't care about it. Because when your first Switch game is Pokemon Sword and Shield, I'm pretty sure that'll do it to you. But now I'd like to go over the objective fact that make this game terrible. I think that Pokemon Sword and Shield is in fact the easiest Pokemon of all of them. The easiest. I don't care what you say. The first thing you see is that your rival chooses to lose rock, paper, scissors. He picks the Pokemon that's weak to your Pokemon. That is the first thing you see. That's enough, right? That's enough for me to say that this is the easiest one? Well, okay, let's also go over the fact that you can literally just Dynamax your first Pokemon in every single battle, probably, and then win the fight. You know that your opponent's gonna Dynamax their last one, right? Which means if you Dynamax your first one, you knock out all their Pokemon, you're going a 6v1 on your opponent's Dynamax Pokemon. And it doesn't matter because you can just wait. You can just like wait it out. It's pretty easy. Like, this game is super easy. I think that one of the greatest travesty that made this game stupid easy as well is the picnic system. The picnic system is so unfair and so busted, they should never have released such a system. It's like a Pokemon Center in your backpack. That's basically what it is. You just eat a sandwich and then you're insta-healed. The second thing I would like to talk about, though, is that this is the game with the least amount of things to do. If you're talking the base game of Pokemon Sword and Shield, you beat the game, you're done. There's nothing really else to do. And that's because they decided that the raid system would be the post-game. There's no cool little cave to explore. There's no legendary sitting in wait elsewhere other than like, I think like Eternatus and the box art legendaries, that's it. And it just creates this experience where this is the most empty Pokemon game of all of them. There's literally nothing to do in this one. It's so empty. Just like this point, I'm gonna do what they did in this game and say nothing else about this, and immediately pivot to something that I saw whenever I was playing it. I think that like a third of the map is this giant area, right, where there's raids, and this whole system, because of Nintendo netcode and all that stuff, made that area look like the jankiest Pokemon game ever in comparison to the other Pokemon games. It did. Everyone going around on their bikes, using like really PowerPoint frames, like they were really choppy. It made it look super janky, which was a first for me with a Pokemon mainline game. So like, yeah, that's just awful too, right? Like, I don't like it when my game looks janky. And now we're on to the fourth objective fact, and that's that they returned to the cookie-cutter Pokemon formula in this one. Now what I mean by this is that in Sun and Moon, there was actually a change in the formula. If you ever played it, in that you wouldn't fight the gym leaders in that one. You would fight like a big boss Pokemon. You would fight kind of a gym leader, and then you would move on to the next island. And I thought that was by far more interesting. The most interesting part was actually that you were this was just something that I remembered. A cool thing about that game is that you were the first champion, and then everyone else was trying to challenge you. That's literally how the ending for that one went, which was interesting. And then obviously the post-game of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was incredible. Like, just multiverse theory was being put directly into Pokemon, basically, with that one. As was kind of elucidated by the fact that there's all these Ultra Beasts, but there's even more multiverse theory implemented. And I thought, whenever they returned to just there being gym leaders in Sword and Shield, I was like, oh, yeah, that's kind of boring. But also, like, the bad guy was clearly the bad guy. Like, you're gonna tell immediately, oh, the big rich guy is the bad guy. Wow. Oh, who would have guessed? Really not a very interesting game because of this return. And now I would like to talk about the final objective fact, absolute truth from Everhood, if you will. And that is, this game, as well as Pokemon Legends Arceus, but Pokemon Legends Arceus is actually a good game in comparison to this game. This game is currently affecting Pokemon VGC, even though it is literally a 6-year-old game. And I guess 5-year-old if you want to count that the DLCs are doing this, because you need to buy Sword and Shield and the DLC, I've said this multiple times, to play competitive Pokemon right now. There's no Calyrex in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Not even in the DLC is there Calyrex. So you need to buy it. What this means is that you're going to be dropping $90 in addition to the $90 that you need to spend for the other game, and the other $60, bringing you up to a whopping $240 to play Pokemon plus tax, just to play in VGC, because you need these Pokemon. You need Ursaluna regular. That's a playable Pokemon, or Hisuian, I guess you could put it. You need Calyrex. Just in general, there's no Calyrex in this game. In Scarlet and Violet, as I said. And that's the thing, like, you're buying Pokemon Sword and Shield and the DLC for one fucking Pokemon. You're buying, I guess actually, Pokemon Legends Arceus is a much better value because you could have bought it for Sneasler, Ursaluna, Basket Legion. There's quite a few actually. So that one is a little more valuable bang for your buck, in addition to being a good game. So all in all, this Pokemon Sword and Shield is like the worst game, generally to me. Actually, the worst game. I hated Dynamaxing too. This is another personal opinion, I guess. I just didn't think it was very interesting. Your Pokemon just became big, and then got what is essentially a bad Z-move, a boring Z-move. Sometimes they would get a boring Z-move. Most of the time they wouldn't. That's all for today's Journaling January. I want to end this video off by putting a nail in the coffin that is the story of the bike. Yeah, it was actually more fucked all along. Anyway, see you later. I'm gonna have to go get the bike fixed. Bye-bye. Goodbye.